I would like to say a few words from a very supportive point of view, so I think, about the very interesting paper. I would like to start by saying a few words about the paper, its importance, and then raise some thoughts or comments. The paper focuses on the second pillar in Israel, which we heard about this morning. We also heard about the second pillar in the States. Today, the second pillar of occupational pension in Israel, which has, very generally, has two features. The first one is that in the last 15 years, the Israeli government has passed few major reforms which privatized the Israeli pension system. Today, the pension system is managed by private insurance firms. The money is invested in the financial market, and all the risks is the savers are the one who bear all the risk. All the risks today. A saver cannot know how much money he will receive until he will retire from work. And so it's a defined contribution privatized system. So this is one feature of the system. The second feature, which was mentioned here, and I think this is maybe the one that makes the Israeli pension system very unique, is that from 2008, all employer must insure their workers in this privatized pension system. Now, this situation when we're talking about mandatory pension, but a privatized one, raises a lot of problems, and most of the people who face most of the problems are the weak workers or disadvantaged savers. Now, they lack the knowledge. So we heard earlier that there is a generally lack of knowledge in the about pension, but of course the disadvantaged savers do not know and maybe are not capable of knowing what are the differences between the pension plans, how much fees are they paying, what do they need, how much money they need to retire. This is one problem. But even if they do have the knowledge, they also lack the bargaining power, which is needed in this private market. So even if they do know that they have a bad pension plan, they don't have the bargaining power to maybe receive a better one. Now, I think the importance of the paper, its significance, is that it looks at the writers look at this situation of a privatized pension system, and do not try to challenge it or to. They do not say, okay, let's go back to the pay-as-you-go defined benefit pension plan, as many writers do. They do not call to the government to come back to high involvement of the government, or they also do not look at, like many writers look at Israel and say, let's look about the first pillar. In Israel, we also have a first pillar of social security benefits, and a lot of writers say, okay, so let's raise these benefits. The writers try to do something new, and this is to look at this market and to say, okay, this is a situation. Let's see what we can do inside this market. What part can the civil society players play in this market, and how can they improve it in order to help the savers? I think this is the importance of the paper, its significance. Now, I would like to raise something like 2 or 3 comments. The first one is, I wonder if we really want to let the state go, if we really do not want to ask anything from the state, because I think that the major problems in this situation is that one problem is that workers do not have any safety net, and this is a problem that could be solved only by the government. Civil society players can serve, of course, as a voice for the disadvantaged savers, but only the government could provide a safety net. And the second problem is that in Israel, although all employers have to insure the workers in pension plans, there is no obligation on the pension funds themselves to insure the workers. So there might be workers who are not able to find a pension fund that will insure them. And this problem could also be addressed only by the government. Now, I wonder if we do not want to, if we really do not want to ask anything from the government. And maybe the second comment that is connected to this first comment is, do the civil society players really have the power to do anything? Are they really capable to bring about a big change? I mean, of course, civil society players or NGOs can give more knowledge to savers. They could represent workers, but of course they have a lot of limitations, which I know that you're aware of. So these are maybe the two major comments or thoughts. I found your solutions very interesting, and of course I would like to hear much more about. One solution that is written in the paper and you didn't mention, and I would be happy to hear much more about, is a solution through the law clinics. To establish a law clinic. Which will help potential savers, and I think this is a very, very interesting idea, and I would like to hear much more about. And maybe the last comment is about what you mentioned about a specific product to maybe disadvantaged savers. About that, I wonder if this specific product will not have also prices, if it won't mean that these disadvantaged savers will have also a disadvantaged pension plan. Yes, of course. And thank you. I enjoyed very much the paper.
Okay, I'll answer. Can I answer? I'll answer shortly, and maybe you want to add a question?
Avia is kind of restless, so and I've learned. Yes.
Yeah, I asked the chairman here to give me a little time to discuss a little bit this, because I've been in this business for a while, and so let me talk in a kind of points. And the first point is that they're absolutely right, and to put it more bluntly, the saving of people for retirement were confiscated by the government so as to have here a very prosperous capital market. This is basically what happened. Okay, and this is why they won't let anyone else touch the money, and this is why, for example, they won't let NGOs be pension funds. It is very natural to have NGOs as pension funds. For example, to have NGOs of the academics here, like TIAA CREF in the US, it is not allowed by the finance ministry. You have to be a for-profit pension fund. Okay, I could talk more about that, but I think the point is very clear. And the second point, which I think you should mention next time that you present this, is that the finance ministry is basically has a conflict of interest. On the one hand, they are protecting they're supposed to protect the interests of the savers, and on the other hand, they are supposed to protect the insurance companies to have the pension funds so that they will be financially stable. This is a very bad conflict of interest. And the question is, what should be done? And I think that your project is really great that you start doing this. And the question is, what should be done? I think that there should be a civil society action, but it should be complemented by pressure to enact a major pension law. Because you have to realize that all these changes were not done by kind of major legislation, but all kinds of using the power of the government to do this and that, and especially this mandatory pension law is not a law, it is what do you call it? It's an agreement, etc., etc. So my point is that you have to advocate for a pension law, and I think that the pension law should have the following points, and it will only take 30 seconds. One is that there should be a special public commission that will be in the law, will protect the interest of the savers, and they will have powers to do things for them. There should be data collection, and etc., etc. And it should be everything should be in the law. And I agree with Lilach that NGOs are too weak to do it. You should advocate for this kind of legislation, and I think that eventually it may pass because the pension business is very, very popular in the Israeli parliament. If you say that you want to protect them, it will pass.
Thank you. Take more questions and then... In a minute, yes, Anna. Just a second, Anna, please.
Just a quick comment on the fact that there are 11 OECD countries that have mandated DC schemes in their pension system, and most of these have moved towards this kind of reform in the last, I would say, 5 years. However, I mean, the thing in this country is the process that has led to this reform that is probably different from what happens in Israel, because, for example, if you take Sweden or Poland or Norway or whatever, I mean, it has been highly concerted at the level of political parties, trade unions, and employers. So the participation was different. But frankly, even you mentioned the United Kingdom. Yes, because and especially the one example is Sweden, where the DC mandated DC schemes is structured in a way where, for example, there are people that do not know how to invest in pension funds and that are put by default in some less risky pension fund or products. That has been set up before or at the same time the reform has passed. So the process has been really a complex one, but a concerted process. And you mentioned the United Kingdom, but the next is probably unique in its kind of, but we don't consider that the United Kingdom has any mandatory DC schemes. They have more voluntary DC and not mandated DC scheme that is completely a different issue. So, I mean, it's just a comment.
I just wanted to answer, maybe also answering Dori at the same time. We had a fantasy. The fantasy was that if you're right. Maybe there should be a whole-blown pension law. I agree with you. But we were thinking about being narrow and asking for a regulation that would create this very plain vanilla product, and then it'll be kind of a basis to start an NGO that is sort of a kind of more סוכנות ביטוח, insurance, the intermediary, an agency, the NGO that has the connection with the low income workers in all kinds of ways, would be kind of the intermediary and maybe earn some of the money that the management fee, the 6% or even less, and then you'll have an NGO with income. And maybe when you have an NGO with an income, you might have somebody with the muscles, because that's the point of it. This is the way I see it, but maybe I'm totally wrong. To try to create an NGO with income, which is concentrated on this issue, that at the end of the day would do maybe the legislation and other things. This is what the idea. And we had no intention of letting the government go, the country go without. But you know, we're seeing what. What? Yeah. We believe, Neta and I believe, that the country should have a lot of responsibilities, but you know, we see reality also, and so try to have this something in between. This is the.
We would just ask about a law clinic. Well, the way we work is that we develop projects within law clinics, and then this is what we're doing now, and sometimes it turns into an independent law clinic, so this actually may happen. Depends on a lot of things. Money.
This may have been said, and I apologize if I missed it. What does a plain vanilla pension include, and what does it not include?
As I mentioned, I think that this is what civil society should decide, what it includes or not. Why do I care about plain vanilla? Because one of the problem with pension is that the minute you approach up a person, I'm a director at the bank. I don't understand my pension. I understand a bank, and I don't understand my pension. Because, you know, how can I decide, you know, how much to live when I die, all kinds of, so they are mixing both the insurance part of it, which is what happens when you die, when you cry, when you whatever, and the pension part of it, the money that you live on when you are old. They are mixing them together, and the management, the quality of managing money. And then they're bringing it to you, and you have to decide. This one gives you this and this and this, but they manage money badly, or I don't know, he had ex post not such good returns, and you have to choose. We were thinking about having the insurance part pre-described, very simplified in a way that people can choose, or maybe and the same way with managing money. Managing money is not that complicated. These days what they do, they buy what you call ETFs, you know, those, they buy 30% of the market, 30% bonds, 30%, and sort of create something that is very simple. Huh? Managing money is not so complicated. It's very complicated. What?
No, a uniform minimum benefit. I just wanted to know
I don't,
what the vanilla pension.
Okay. I don't know about what is. And the reason for the uniform one size means all is to have the discussion go to the right way, where it should be. Otherwise, we could discuss, he's managing money better. This.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So much.